Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is my highlighter collection, as in makeup products that make your face glow. The makeup tutorial minus what lip I'm doing is going to already have been up on my channel. It would have been my previous video. So if you haven't watched that, go ahead and watch that video after this one. The lip I switched to is Jeffree Star Cosmetics I'm Nude. I have my full makeup collection minus everything I've hauled since then, which is a little bit, but not too much. And then I also have a concealer collection video up already, so I think those are the only ones. With that being said, if you want to see other individual type product collection videos, just leave me a comment down below. These are all of my highlighters. As you can see, I have quite a few to talk about, so without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. I'm not going to go in any particular order, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with some of the most affordable highlighters, which are the ones by e.l.f. The one I'm wearing on my cheekbones today, as well as anywhere else I felt like putting highlighter, is the Moonlit Pearls Baked Highlighter. This one is basically just a warm pearl toned highlight. I also have their other two baked highlighters. This one is in Pink Diamonds, and it is a pearlescent pink. The other one is in Blushed Gems, and this one is slightly more reminiscent to MAC's MSF in Soft and Gentle, supposedly. E.l.f. also has baked blushes, but the latter one is closest to a highlighter than a blush in the shade Pinktastic. It has a very similar soft warm pearl toned base compared to Moonlit Pearls, except it has pink veining in it. They also used to sell these essential highlighters, but they did discontinue them and repackage them. If you are not interested in buying multiple individual highlighters, you could always go with the e.l.f. Illuminating palette. You get a pale gold, a light pink tone, and then a slightly more bronze one. These three are similar to the baked highlights. Since I did briefly mention how the e.l.f. one in Blush Gems is comparable to MAC's Soft and Gentle, I thought I would mention my MAC highlights. I only have two. I have Lightscapade, which was in limited edition packaging but is a permanent highlighter, and this is one of my favorite highlighters. I mentioned it as my top favorite high-end highlighter for 2015 in my favorites video if you haven't seen that already, and it really just is a very soft luminescent pearl. The MAC highlighter I have was from the recent 2015 holiday collection. I did manage to get Oh Darling, however, it definitely is not highlight toned for me and way too dark, but I think I will still keep it for a dupe to MAC Lightscapade. Is supposedly Rose from the semi-new L'Oreal True Match Lumi Powder Glow Illuminators. I have compared the two on my blog. I prefer MAC Lightscapade, but this is a very good highlight, and I did mention in a favorites video when I first got it because I did like it that much. The one in Ice, this is more cool toned, where that is warm toned. This, if you use too heavy a hand with it, can show up like the colors in the packaging, meaning it will show up slightly blue on your skin if you're not careful with it, but if you do use a subtle enough amount of it, it does show up like a very bright pale highlight. If you did want an actually blue highlight, a semi-more unknown indie brand called Looxi Beauty has one in the shade Luna. This is literally a blue toned highlight. I used this in a Halloween makeup tutorial. I know that was a while ago. I basically applied it like all over my face. So the other two I have from them are in the shade Ever After, which is kind of like a pearly champagne shade, but then it shifts to be like this almost lavender pink. I don't know if you can quite see the shift. Oh, there you go. And then the third one I have from them is in the shade Celestial, which is basically a very, very pale gold. I used this in a tutorial that I called my Golden Goddess look because I themed it more white gold, because if you're pale like me, you can't wear true gold toned highlighters. What if you wanted a straight up white highlighter? You didn't want white gold, you wanted a white highlight. Becca Pressed Shimmering Skin Perfector in Pearl is life. I expressed my feelings about this in a haul that I love it so much. Soft and smooth and buttery and pigmented, and it also blends onto your cheeks as if you're not wearing a highlight, What I mean by that is you can look at it and it still looks like your skin underneath. It really is a skin perfector. We'll still have the glow like this highlighter has, but even more so. That Becca highlight though is $38. Yes, I spent that much, and no, I do not regret it. If you need a more drugstore affordable option, Colourpop has a highlight in the shade Fanny Pack, which is basically a cream gel formula of the same color. Now, with that being said, it isn't quite as easy to use because it's easier to use with your fingertips or a sponge than with a bristle brush. With the Becca, you can just use a brush and go whoop, but with this guy, you gotta take your fingertips, just dab a little into products, tap it on your cheekbones, and then if that doesn't blend quite perfectly into your skin, I also like to take something like a beauty blender just to dab it in further. I have the one in Stole the Show, which I thought was the lightest until they came out with the Fanny Pack. This is a pearl, but it has a little bit more gold in it, so it's once again like a white gold versus just a white. Lunch Money. Lunch Money is definitely a pale gold. I use this in my natural makeup tutorial because the way this blends is very natural. My last Colourpop highlighter is in the shade Hippo, pale lavender, way more cool toned than my natural skin tone, but somehow it just works. One that is similar to Lunch Money by Colourpop is Benefit What's Up. I do love this, and I like the formula on it just a tiny bit more than the Colourpop. The Colourpop is kind of a gel, so you can use it on top of powder or cream products. This you definitely want to use just on top of cream or liquid products. Like you could use this right after you do your foundation and then powder. With this, it's a little bit more natural looking. It blends into the skin a little bit better than the Colourpop ones I find, and I like it a little bit more for the formula, but the colors are similar. And this is the Essence So Glow Cream to Powder Illuminator in the shade Bright Up Your Life. This is a very pink toned cream highlight. The formula on this is one that you have to play around with a bit to see how you like it. I would definitely say, even though it's cream to powder, to use it on top of your liquid products, not on top of your powder products. If you try to do it on top of a powder product, it can look a little bit cakey and funny. Another pinky toned cream highlighter is the Clinique Hefty highlighting stick. A bit tacky, so I would set it with something. If you want to see that in action, once again, I know I keep saying this, it is in a tutorial. Look at my description box. When I list all of the products used, I will link what tutorial I use them in or what haul I haul them in and everything like that if you want to find more information about them. Or I will put a link on the little eye symbol that pops up at the top of your screen. I'll mention our liquid highlighters next. This is the L'Oreal True Match Liquid Glow Illuminator. This is in ice. It is more pink cool toned rather than the powder, which oddly enough is slightly blue cool toned. The liquid version, I'm just not a huge fan of it. It doesn't claim to set, it just claims to prime and highlight, so use it before or use it on top of liquid products. Don't try to mix it in. Moral of the story. A mini of Benefit High Beam. I've had this forever. Oh my god, this was my first highlighter. This is just a true liquid highlighter. Nars Illuminator in Orgasm. What I like to do with this though is if I apply it just above my blush but just below my cheekbone, it'll lift it because there is glow, and it also gives a blush tone to it. It's really pretty peachy pink shade. It's just a little bit trickier to use because you can't just apply it as your highlight, because on my skin tone at least, it shows up more like a streak if I do it that way. Technically isn't a highlighter, it's just a liquid illuminator strobe cream from MAC, and I really like this as well. This is what I like if I want to mix something into my foundation. This is the way to go if you want to mix. MAC strobe cream, as you can see, basically looks like nothing on the skin except glowy. A liquid highlight I don't really like is the Stila All Over Shimmer Liquid Illuminator. This is in the shade Pink Shimmer, and I bought it at Nordstrom Rack, so I believe it is discontinued now. More grit to it, so it just doesn't blend well, and it emphasizes your pores and imperfections way too much. To powder products, this is a mini of the Stila Kitten Highlighter Duo. I really like this. I usually only use the light pinky shade. It's iridescent. It doesn't look really fake on the skin. It just gives you a really subtle glow from within look, which is an overused phrase, but it really does. There also is a bronzy shade, which I don't really use on myself. It's okay if I want to add a little bit more glow to a matte bronzer and just glow up those areas. It's also really great if you have darker skin, and then if you have medium skin, mix the two together. Pink shade, the bronze, and then mix together. Another versatile highlight from Physicians Formula with shimmer strips in, I think, Vegas strip. This isn't the most fine powder. I don't know, I should probably try more than just judge this one product, but it just doesn't work out the best for me. I can use the lighter shades as a highlight, and then the darker ones you can use as a bronzer slash blush. You could also use them as eyeshadows. And for the price, since it is expensive drugstore makeup, it's not like $3. If this was $3, I'd recommend it, but it's not. Lighter half mixed together and the darker. The last kind of swirly all-in-one cheek product. This is a dream come true from the Cinderella collection at Walgreens. If you can still find this, I'd get it just for the packaging. One of the Walgreens Disney collections was Spellbound Sculpting, which was one of the Maleficent little collection-y items. The Laura Mercier Highlight 01. This is a matte radiance baked highlighter. It's matte, but it's kind of more of a satin. I like this, I just don't love it. The only times I've used this, it shows up a darker peach on my skin tone and makes it so that at a certain angle, it shows up almost like a streak of peach on me. I do blend it, I swear I do. It's just like at certain angles it doesn't look good, but then at other angles you're like, oh my god, it's so glowy and gorgeous, I love it. So I'm a little bit hit or miss with this. I'm glad that I had a mini version of it and I didn't buy the full size, because this is like the Laura Mercier powder and all Laura Mercier products. I think this is close to $40. This is another recent find. This is the Maybelline Master Contour. I just want to talk about the highlight, which coincidentally happens to be my favorite part of this trio. I love it so much. I use this in a first impressions subtle version of anything off-white. It has like the warmth to it that is kind of indescribable. The only thing I don't like about this is that I think the highlighter should be just as big as a blush and bronzer, if not bigger. Another little palette. This was limited edition over the summer from Wet n Wild. This was one of their trios in Sunset Junction. It was only one of the trios they had left over when I went to find them, but the highlight in this is once again one of those slightly warm tone off-white highlighters, except this definitely pulls more pink. The Maybelline Master Highlight by Face Studio Highlighting Blush in the shade Illuminata, not Illuminati. And this was limited edition and so worth the hunt. I oddly enough found mine about 2 months after it released at like one of those random low shelves on the makeup aisle, and I was like, is that what I think it is? Oh my god. And it wasn't just the shade Nude, which also works as a highlighter. My non-highlighter highlighters that I love to highlight with. If that sounds confusing, basically I just mean eyeshadows. Eyeshadows that are in the tone that mimic highlighters, that can be used as highlighters, that sometimes end up even more intense than a highlighter. This first one is the one I use the most often. It is the Milani Bella eyeshadow in Bella Chiffon. This is basically just a slightly yellow toned highlighter. I use this in one of my day to night tutorials. It looks bleak in that video. If you want a really unique highlight, this Jessie's Girl pigment in Kiwi Rose is a shifting pink green. Yeah, it's a pigment, but I've used it as a highlighter. I personally don't love the way it looks, but with the right makeup, or if you want a theme to something, duochrome highlight, you could totally try this. Another affordable pigment that you can use as a highlighter is Elegant by e.l.f. This is one of their mineral eyeshadows. They have a ton of these that no one ever talks about, but this shade in Elegant is basically like a true champagne. A little bit does go a long way since it is a pure pigment, so it's pure shimmer. Think about that. You have the power to just put pure shimmer on your face. Real Infallible eyeshadows. This is an iced latte. People have been using this to highlight for quite a while, so it's no surprise. It's just another champagne off-white. A larger variety of skin tones can pull this off. And the very last one is the Kat Von D Metal Crush eyeshadow in Thunderstruck. Another kind of metallic pearl that has a bunch of shift to it. And if you thought I wasn't going to mention that you can use this to highlight, you'd be crazy, because you know what? It is actually beautiful. Anyway, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, leave comments down below of what makeup collection video you would like to see next. Until next time, bye!